And the last one here in the middleweight division, in the main event, UFC 293, it's going down. Israel Adesanya putting his UFC middleweight championship on the line against Sean Tarzan Strickland. Okay, Adesanya, the great, the last style bender, one of the brightest stars, maybe the biggest star in the sport, in the promotion at this point in time. The 34-year-old out of Lagos, Nigeria. His record stands at 24-2 with 16 knockouts. Most recently, getting one of those knockouts against Alex Pereira back in April of this year, getting his revenge finally on Pereira, knocking him out in the second round, grabbing his middleweight title back from Poatan. This time, he will be standing across from Sean Tarzan Strickland, who finally has made it all the way up to that middleweight title shot. 32 years old, out of Anaheim, California. 27-5 as a pro. That's a damn good record, man. That's a damn good record for Strickland. 11 knockouts, another 4 submissions added to that. And he's riding a 2-fight win streak coming into this title fight. Okay. I will go first once again. I'm not picking against Adesanya, especially in this matchup. I'm just not. I just can't. Sean Strickland, if there's anything that needs to be said, is that he has a pretty unique style to me in terms of a fighting style. He has a pretty unique style overall. But he always presents a little bit of a tricky puzzle to his opponents in how he stalks you. He's a bit of a counterpuncher. He's kind of pesky. He's not a one-hitter quitter kind of guy, but he does have some knockouts on his record because he does kind of drag you into quicksand quite a bit. But I just cannot see him doing that against a guy who has such elite kickboxing skills in Israel Adesanya. And I don't see Sean Strickland employing any kind of wrestling. That I don't remember the last time I saw him even try to initiate a takedown. The guy's a brawler. He's a scrapper. And I see him getting pieced up a bit by Adesanya. And I think Adesanya very well could finish him. I could see this going the way that it went against Cannonier when Adesanya beat Cannonier, of Adesanya kind of being content to kind of just score and win on the outside and kind of just pick him apart. But you know what? I think this is going to be a little personal, and I think Adesanya shows out in this fight. And I'm going to say he gets Sean Strickland out of there. I'll say a third round TKO for Israel Adesanya. Who would like to go next?
I'll go. So the odds are pretty wide, wider than I even thought. Izzy is minus 650. Sean Strickland is plus 480.
Yeah, that's about right.
In my mind, I was thinking like 4 something and 3 something. I didn't think it was going to be quite that big. 3 inches of height for Izzy, 4 inches of reach for Izzy. This is a fun fight for me. I'll admit I like this fight. I think that Sean Strickland presents more of an interesting challenge than it seems like the masses generally do. From what I've seen thus far in regard to this fight, it seems like everyone's kind of just picking Izzy in a walk, and I'm picking Izzy too. But I think it could be interesting and maybe even a fun fight. Like, Sean Strickland knows how he has to fight this fight, and that's just to do exactly what he always does, to walk forward, to try to crowd Izzy, to pressure him, to make it a little ugly, to not get caught by a big shot. Like, these are all things that Sean Strickland does in every fight he's in, except for the Pereira fight where he did get caught by the big shot, but generally speaking. So all he really has to do to make this interesting is to successfully play the game he usually plays. Now, I don't know if he can against Izzy, but if he does, I think this could turn into a pretty entertaining fight. And of course, it's going to be a huge risk for him to be walking Izzy down. I mean, just ask Pereira, which has happened to him. But it's the only way he wins this fight. That or introducing a bit of grappling, which I'd honestly really like to see him try to do because he is a good grappler, but he doesn't love to grapple. So I'm not sure we actually see him try that. He actually just shitted on jiu-jitsu today in an interview. I don't know if you guys saw that. They were asking him about, isn't he a black belt? And he was like, yeah, but jiu-jitsu doesn't work, so fuck that. So like, um, so yeah, I don't know if we actually see that. It would make it even more interesting if he was willing to try that. But after saying all of that to explain why I think that it's a fun matchup, I do certainly still favor Izzy simply because he is better. His technique is higher level. His timing is better. He's faster for sure. He carries more power. You know, the boxes are still all checked for Izzy. And as much as Strickland is hard to hit and hard to hurt because he rolls with punches so well, Izzy's the kind of striker who hits you with the one you don't see. And there's no rolling with that. And that's ultimately what I think will happen. I think Izzy will set something up. Sean won't see it coming, and he will go down. Prior to that, I think Izzy probably rips at the legs where he can to try to slow Sean's advance. I think we'll see him be pretty patient early just to try to get the timing down and test some setups. But eventually, I think he finds it. I will say as well that it is a round 3 TKO.
Omar?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that you have to remember about Izzy for me is the entirety of the fight, he's generally trying to set up traps. And I think in a lot of respects, some of the guys that he's fought don't necessarily run into his traps, and the criticism then is who goes first, right? I don't think Sean Strickland is the kind of guy at this point. I think we've seen him in all these fights. He's very aggressive. He's going to come forward, and he's going to force Israel Adesanya to fight. And I think that's when Israel is at his scariest, if we're being honest. Israel reacts very well. I think his reactions in moments in split seconds, I think, are fantastic. But like I said, again, the traps, I think, are what make him one of the more dangerous strikers in the UFC at this point. He sets guys up, I think, without these guys even realizing they're about to get set up. And I think something similar to what happened to Strickland against Pereira is probably what's going to end up happening here. I simply think that the power of Pereira just made it happen a lot sooner than it will against Adesanya. But I think Adesanya's striking is going to be a little bit too clean, and his range management should be a lot better than Sean Strickland's as well, and he should have the length to take advantage of that. So I'm going to go with Adesanya, obviously. I'm going to go with second round TKO here. The thing that concerns me about any fight with Sean Strickland is that his crazy ass could pull something wild out and just land something stupid and win. Because we've seen it happen before. We've definitely seen him win entire fights, every round of entire fights, using that little modified Philly shell that he uses, that only he uses in MMA. But I think against somebody like Israel Adesanya, he's going to have a lot of trouble doing that. And so I think the only way he's going to win this fight is if he does dumb or unorthodox things, which Sean Strickland is very capable of doing.